Hey guys, eMachine03 here, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be talking about the time that my car broke down at Walmart and things quickly went south. Before we start, don't forget to smash that like button now. This is not like a 2016 story time video, but for real, I hope you enjoy, so let's just get started. This story took place almost a year ago at this point. Dang, it doesn't even feel that long ago. It took place almost a year ago, last summer. And like most bad stories, it started at Walmart. Fortunately, this isn't like a people of Walmart type situation. You know, I just went in, got some vegetables, paid for the vegetables, obviously, and then I left. The problems started when I tried to start my car. I turned the key and the engine revved a little, but it didn't really start. For some context, this had happened a few times before to me, so I turned my key again to see if it would start, and this time there was nothing. Like, no sounds from the engine at all. Like, it didn't even try. So naturally, I like most people would, I just assumed the battery is dead. I hopped out and I called my roommate to see if he could come jump my car. But he said that it was going to be a while, so I started looking around for someone in the parking lot who could help. I couldn't see anyone who I felt like would actually want to help until I noticed someone was walking by with a giant television in his shopping cart. So he takes this shopping cart over, and as I'm watching him, I'm thinking, oh man, what if this dude was in the car next to me? Because there was a car next to me, and would you believe it? This guy comes over, he gets into the car next to mine. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted because I thought, oh, if I help this dude get his TV into his car, then maybe he'll help me jump my car, right? You know, win-win situation. So the funny thing is, while I'm thinking about this, he actually comes over and he's like, hey, can I like borrow your phone? I guess he just saw I was standing around. And I was like, yeah, could you help me jump my car sometime though? He's like, yeah, of course. So he pulls out this piece of paper with like a phone number and a heart on it. And I hand him my phone and he calls them and he says, hey, can you come help with the TV? So a few minutes later, his girlfriend comes out and they're trying to work together to like put the TV in, but it's not working at all. Like, no matter what they do, it is not going to fit into like their normal sized sedan with like a small trunk. I mean, maybe if this was like a station wagon, they could like fold down the back seat or something, but like this was not going to work. I felt bad for them, honestly. I think eventually they kind of just like gave up with trying to figure out how to put the TV in there. And then they're like, yeah, we'll come help you jump your car. Fortunately, nothing bad happened with that. You know, we put the jumper cables on, and then they ran their car for like 5 minutes. Once you've got the jumper cables on, you gotta sit there and just wait while their car runs, and that basically charges up the battery. But you see, we did this for 5 minutes. I tried to start it, and then it made like a small noise, but nothing really happened. We probably tried again, but I don't think we waited like the whole time. I think eventually we kind of knew they couldn't really help after like 5 minutes of doing this. And in fact, the dude's girlfriend actually said that it was going to be an issue with the starter, probably. Like, she thought it wasn't the battery. I kind of wish I listened to that so I wouldn't have had to deal with what happened next, but oh well. So I still thought my car wasn't starting because of the battery. So I called a battery technician in to come look at my car. A few minutes later, I got a text that said when the battery technician would arrive. And, you know, you'd assume he'd be showing up pretty soon. It was probably like 8:30 right now at this point, around then. Nope. This guy was going to show up at 10:40 p.m., 2 hours away. It might have even been longer than that. That 8:30 time is just an estimate. It might have actually just been like 7:30, which would be even worse. And, you know, I didn't really want to sit in the Walmart parking lot while it was getting darker and darker outside for like 2 hours. You know, I don't think anyone wants to spend their evening this way. And remember, I have some vegetables that are sitting next to me in like a shopping cart because I didn't feel like holding them. They've just been sitting there this whole time. I didn't even know if I'd be able to eat those vegetables in the first place. At this point, I was trying to think of a backup plan for what I could do. Because obviously, I don't think anyone wants to like sit at Walmart and wait for this guy for 2 hours. So at first, I thought I could just leave my car there for the night and wait for the next day. But I didn't know if Walmart might tow my car, right? Because I'm just leaving it there overnight. So I called the phone number for this Walmart. Keep in mind, it's like probably 8:30 at this point. So I was fully expecting just no one to pick up. But somehow someone picked up and they told me that the Walmart contracts their towing out to some third-party company. So they couldn't say for sure that my car wouldn't get towed, like they couldn't write down my license plate or anything. So, of course, I'd have to stay with my car at this point. There's basically nothing I could do. I would rather sit in the freaking parking lot than have to deal with towing companies, right? So at this point, I didn't really have a choice. I was just going to have to spend my evening sitting in the dark at Walmart in a shady parking lot, right? So fun. While I waited, I wanted to make the best of my time, so I started listening to OK Computer by Radiohead. You know, everyone always says, oh, OK Computer is like the best album ever, dude, you gotta listen to it. I listened to like half of it. It was like fine. It's a good album, I can't really criticize it, but I'm not that much of a music critic, but, you know, maybe my experience was kind of like colored by the situation I was in. So about 50 minutes later, I noticed that the arrival time had actually been pushed back to like 9:23 p.m., which meant that the battery guy would actually be arriving pretty soon. He pulled up with a pickup truck with the company's logo on it and stuff. So I knew it was him. I waved him down and he pulled into a nearby parking spot, which, now that I think about it, I was probably actually pretty lucky that this happened later in the evening because it meant that there were a bunch of open parking spots in this parking lot. Because when I arrived here, it was probably like 6 p.m. And you know, 6 p.m. at Walmart, there's going to be a lot of people there buying stuff. I actually don't even really know how I would have gotten out of that situation, so I guess that's the bright side. But trust me, it just gets worse. I already had it bad enough with what happened. So after this guy pulls up, you know, he gets out, he verifies that I'm the guy who needs help, and then he goes back to his car and pulls out some battery tester device. I hadn't ever seen this before. I could probably just put up a photo of one, but basically just hooks it up to my battery, and would you believe it? Everything is fine with the battery. That should not have been surprising at all. I should have just called a tow truck, but oh well. The repair guy, he said his job was like only batteries, so he wasn't really sure what the issue was, but he guessed that it could be the starter. Obviously, it's the freaking starter. I don't know anything about cars, but I should have known that it wasn't the battery. I feel like I've said that like 5 times at this point. But seriously, like, I'm actually so mad I didn't just get it towed right away. Because I actually waited an hour for this guy to be like, yeah, no, nothing. So, obviously at this point, the only thing I could really do was to just get this car towed to a repair place so they can look at it and figure out what's going on. The technician got on his phone and called dispatch to get a tow truck to come pick up my car. And before he left, I asked him, hey, you know how long it's going to take for the tow truck to arrive? Because keep in mind, I had already waited an hour for this battery guy to show up, so I was kind of afraid it might take another hour, right? And would you believe that the technician actually said, yeah, it could take like an hour or more. That was not what I wanted to hear right now, let me say. Of course, there wasn't anything I could do in the situation, right? I can't leave because Walmart will just tow my car, probably. Also, they've already called the tow truck, so it'd kind of be rude to be like, yeah, no, I don't actually need to get towed. So, just kind of had to wait. So, you know how the technician said that the truck was going to take an hour to arrive, right? Well, only 10 minutes later, I get a text on my phone saying that the truck was going to arrive in 5 minutes. initially, I just assumed this is some sort of mistake, right? There's no way it would just take 15 minutes for some guy to get in his tow truck and drive all the way over here. But I don't know, I guess this guy was already on the road and was nearby. Well, good for him. I was really relieved when I saw that. So anyway, if a tow truck guy arrives, pulls up, fortunately there's a bunch of open parking spots now because it is legit like 10 p.m. at this point. He pulls up in front of my car, we put it on the tow truck, and then I get in the tow truck and he asks me where I want to go, right? Obviously I need to go to some repair place, but I don't really have a specific repair place I go to, so I look on Google Maps to find one, and turns out there's a repair place right next to this Walmart. I'm serious, the entire route to this thing is you leave the Walmart parking lot, cross one street, and bam, you're in the parking lot for the repair place. So that's where we take my car to. Now that I think about it, I wonder if that's the shortest distance that this guy has ever towed a car. Probably not, but I mean, you never know. So, after an incredibly short drive, we hop out of this tow truck, drop my car off into a parking spot, and now it's time for me to fill out the envelope and drop off my keys, right? Well, there's one small problem. Right next to this drop-off box, some woman is sitting outside and charging her phone on this outlet outside at 10 p.m. And you could say that this woman probably wasn't in the best mental state at the time. In fact, she's currently on the phone with someone having, let's say, a very intelligent conversation. I wasn't listening that closely, but she kept saying something like this repeatedly. You took all my Zoloft. Now I'm drinking tequila. I'm serious. She kept saying that over and over in like a weird voice like that. Now, obviously, I'm someone who cares about like the issues of mental health and drug addiction. Like, they're both super serious topics that we need to care more about as a country. But like, in this situation, obviously, I'm still kind of concerned about like how she's going to react when I go over to the drop-off box, right? Because it is legit like 10:30 right now. But at the same time, I mean, like, I don't really have a choice, right? Who knows? Maybe this car repair place will also tow my car if I just leave. So I gotta drop off my keys and get them to repair it. So I just head over, walk right past her, grab an envelope, and also a pen that I can use to fill out this envelope. And fortunately, I didn't have any issues with the woman. I think when I went over there, she just walked away. Now that I think about it, I actually kind of feel bad about interrupting her from charging her phone. But, I mean, I kind of had to fill this out. So, oh well. So I grab the pen, obviously. I'm filling out the envelope with my information, or at least I tried to. But, you see, the issue is this pen was actually dead. There was no ink at all. I think I got some ink out of it. You could sort of see, like, I was scratching what I wrote on there, and you could sort of see it, but I wasn't going to take a risk with dropping off my keys, and then, they can't read my contact information, and I just can't drive my car anymore, So obviously, I need to be able to write out my contact information clearly, right? So at this point, I only really had one choice. Can you guess what it was? I need a pen, right? I need to buy a pen so I can write my stuff out. Is there a store nearby that sells pens? That's right. I walked all the way back to Walmart, which wasn't like much of a walk. I just had to like cross the street. But I still had to like head over to Walmart in the dark. Like, it was super dark. I could barely see. But I walked all the way back to Walmart, head in. I tried to go in the door that I went in before, but then the security guy said, that door is locked because it's too late. So I had to go in a different door, walk over to the office supplies place, grab a 4-pack of pens, head over to self-checkout, buy those pens, walk all the way back to my car where I dropped off the envelope, and then fill out this envelope using those pens, right? So that took a while, but eventually I finally filled it out. Triple checked that I had got everything right before dropping my keys in the envelope, and then I dropped my key into the drop-off box, and that was it, right? Nope, that's not it. There still is more. I could not get a break tonight, I guess. So now that my keys are in the drop-off box, obviously I can't drive my car. I mean, I couldn't drive my car before, but now for sure there is no way I'm driving my car. So I gotta call an Uber, right? So obviously I assumed that the safest place to get an Uber would be the front of Walmart. So I called the Uber over to Walmart and head over there. And looks pretty good at first. It seems like my Uber driver is gonna be showing up pretty soon, right? Nope, he canceled. So I had to stand in front of Walmart for 30 minutes waiting for the next guy to finally show up. That sucked because, when that first Uber driver accepted, I thought I was done with the night, He's going to show up, take me back, and I won't have to deal with this anymore. But nope, I had to wait there even longer. Just, so mad. Keep in mind, it is actually 10:40 at this point. I'm just sitting in front of Walmart on my own. God, this was such a bad night. As I said, I sat there for 30 minutes, and then the Uber driver finally shows up. I hop in, I'm just sitting there, pretty mad. I think the Uber driver could tell that something was wrong, so he eventually asked what was going on, and I basically told him a super summarized version of what had happened, and he was like, "Oh man, that sounds so bad," and yeah, it was pretty bad, but finally, after a drive that felt like forever, I got back home and went to bed. And that's about it. All in all, that experience lasted about 5 hours, I'm pretty sure. I went to Walmart at 6 and got home at 11. I think any situation where you enter Walmart and you don't leave for 5 hours, I don't think that could ever go well. Especially if you're working there. That would actually probably be even worse. But I'm just glad. Well, I was going to say I'm glad that won't happen again, but, maybe I can't guarantee that my car won't break down at Walmart again. Maybe that'll happen someday and I'll be thinking about this situation again. That would suck. Well, that was definitely a lot for one day. Overall, I think this whole experience lasted about 5 hours, and it was definitely not a good time. And sometimes I look back on the story and I wonder, what would the moral of this story be? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe bad things just happen sometimes, and there's not really anything you can do about it. As for what happened next, I'll go over that quickly because it's not that interesting. A few days later, I got a call that, surprise, surprise, the starter was bad, and they had ordered the parts and were waiting for it. About a week later, they told me it was ready, so I headed over there, and I got the bill, and it was $800. Yeah. Oh, that was not good. But after, I paid that, got in my car and started it, dude, I could tell. It sounded so much better when it started. As soon as I started that, I realized, oh no, my starter had been getting worse and worse over time. But I guess I just never noticed, As weird as it is to say, I'm actually kind of glad this happened when it did, because a few weeks after this happened, I was going to have to drive pretty far. So if the starter broke while I was stopped along that trip, that would have definitely not been fun to deal with. So I guess maybe it's good that I found the issue when I did. Oh, yeah, one more thing to mention, the vegetables. Yeah, I still ate them. I admit that is probably kind of gross that I ate vegetables that sat out for 5 hours, but dude, there is no way I was going to throw those out after all I went through. Fortunately, they still tasted fine. And that's about it for that story. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I wanted to try something a little different with my content and see if you all like watching this sort of story time content. Obviously, I've made a bunch of math videos recently because that's what gets views, but hey, maybe this will go viral as well. Regardless, I hope you all had a good time watching. As always, I'm eMachino3, and I'll see you guys later.